Good evening and welcome to Kiwanis Let's Talk. This is Sue Peterson from the Michigan District of Kiwanis. And for those of you that are joining us for the first time tonight, we do this program every Thursday and have done it since over a year now. I think we're probably at 40 or 50 sessions, and we have been getting together every Thursday at 8 o'clock to talk about all things Kiwanis and all things everything else. We've had programs on trust repair and programs on how to use the secretary dashboard, all the way to programs on how to hunt alligators and Cajun cooking. So we are here to share the best of the best with people and what's going on. So I want to explain a little bit about what's going to happen tonight. Just so you know, all the candidates will be on the screen at the same time this evening. Our moderator this evening is Kiwanis International past President Paul Palazzolo from Illinois Eastern Iowa, who was president in 2009, 2010. We will rotate the questions. With each person answering our question first, the candidates will have 2 minutes to answer those questions. At the beginning, each candidate will have 3 minutes to introduce themselves, and then we'll receive 1 minute of time for closing remarks. We are recording this session, and we will make it available on the Michigan District of Kiwanis YouTube channel as soon as we can get it uploaded tonight. And we ask that you, as a participant and a guest of us tonight, stay muted so that we can keep the noise down to a minimal roar. Paul will have enough to go with what Paul's doing right then, right? So we'll keep him up to going. And then I will be doing timing to help our candidates out. And if you should have a question that you want to ask, please feel free to throw it in the chat. The chat is set up only to come to myself and Paul so that we can manage the chat as well. So we can keep reading through that. So with that, I am going to turn it over to past International President Paul. Paul, take it away.
Hey, thank you, Sue. Past International President Sue, absolutely. And a real pleasure to be asked to help on this. And we're looking at the United States candidates for International Trustee. And I like to characterize the role of International Trustee as really having two basic functions. The first function is around the board table and making decisions for the organization together, policy basis wise and big picture basis wise. The second function of the role of International Trustee is to serve as a counselor to districts that have been assigned to that trustee by the International President-elect and thus then the International President. So as folks are listening to these questions, you'll see that some of them have a bit of a perspective for that counseling part of the role, which is kind of was my favorite when I was serving on the international board. Both roles, both aspects of the role are important. Sitting around the board table, discussing and working in committees, but you are fed information from your council districts for those decisions that you make around the board table, but you're also counseling district governors and board members to help clubs. The whole reason for the purpose of this structure is to help Kiwanis clubs be the absolute best that they can be. So let's dive right into the opening statements. We'd like to go in alphabetical order. And as past President Sue mentioned, there is a 3-minute intro. So in alphabetical order, please, Roger Bell. You're on, Roger. Please unmute yourself, Roger.
Sorry about that. Is that working now?
You're on, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you, Paul and Sue, and also to the Michigan District for sponsoring this tonight. I am Roger Bell, a distinguished past governor, class of 1718 from the Pacific Northwest District. I serve in the Yakima Club, close to 40 years now. I was born in Caryville, Tennessee, and raised in Walla Walla, Washington. And as a kid, I grew up right across the street from the penitentiary. And, you know, many of my neighbors swore that I wouldn't have far to move when I grew up. However, I did grow up, and I graduated from Eastern Washington University with a degree in business management specializing in human resources. Upon graduation, I entered the U.S. Army as a Signal Corps officer and served at Fort Gordon, Georgia and Fort Sill, Oklahoma. I then began a career in transportation management that lasted 42 years with 2 different companies. During this time, I served on many community boards, and that was in expanding my passions for giving back to my community. My wife, Tammy, and I are retired in Selah, Washington, where I'm serving my 2nd term as a city councilman. And between us, we have 7 children, 10 grandchildren, and 2 great-granddaughters. During my Kiwanis career, I've always been actively engaged in service and membership, along with financial accountability. I am a distinguished past president, 2-term lieutenant governor, and have served in many district capacities over the past 16 years. These include 10 years on the Finance Committee, 9 years on the Foundation Board, and 3 years as Strategic Planning Chair, along with 5 years as Laws and Regs Chair, and 6 years on the Membership Committee. I'm a KI certified trainer and club coach. I actively support the foundations and am a Zeller, Hickson, Osborne, Emerson, and Rusty Fellow. I have a level 15 outreach award for supporting our district SLP fund, and I have received many awards for service and membership. I have worked on multiple membership blitzes. I am a candidate for International Trustee because I believe that is a natural next step for my Kiwanis passions of growing membership through new clubs and engaged club members through improved community service with passionate hearts to drive impactful service and strengthen financial decision-making through organizationally responsible accountability. Roger Bells, again, my name.
Thanks, Roger. Thank you, sir. All right, alphabetical order. Next, Gary Graham.
Good evening. I'm Gary Graham, and first and foremost, I want to introduce my wife, Jamie, a fellow Kiwanian. We've been married for 31 years and have 4 children and 12 grandchildren. I'm a proud 30-year Kiwanian in the Kiwanis Club of Baton Rouge, as well as the 2015-16 governor for the Louisiana, Mississippi, West Tennessee district. I'm also a member of the Lamiston Club and the Eye of the Tiger E Club. I'm a native of Virginia, and I was raised in a military family. I had my first contact with the K family when I joined Key Club in 1967. From 70 to 73, I was in the Army Security Agency as a German interpreter translator. Upon my discharge, I went back to UVA and graduated in 1977 with 2 degrees, one in foreign affairs and one in German. I stayed on at UVA as an assistant director for the Office of Parking and Transportation. In 1982, LSU came to me and recruited me to come to Baton Rouge to create a parking and transportation department there. I stayed there until my retirement in 2014, after 32 years there. I also received my master's in public administration while I was there. I have been in Kiwanis. I have been for 30 years our sponsored Cub Scout pack leader. I was faculty and am now the Kiwanis advisor for the LSU CKI. And for 20 years, I have been the Key Club advisor for our particular Key clubs. And I have participated in the Key Leader program. I'm currently serving as our club secretary and SLP committee chair. I'm also our district's membership chair, and my teams over the last 3 years have built 19 clubs, and we're working on our 20th. I also serve as a club leadership education instructor for the district. All of this has provided me the insight to understand the needs of our members and to develop ways to keep Kiwanis relevant to them in our fast-changing world. I believe my various experiences in the military and my professional life, where I gained such skills as budgeting, strategic planning, and team building, and my positions in Kiwanis uniquely position me to make our clubs more responsive to the membership and to grow our organization. My decades of working with young adults as a college administrator and an advisor to key clubs and the CKI give me insight into what will attract a new generation of Kiwanians to serve. I
Thanks,
can
Gary.
help bridge a
Thanks, Gary.
generations to serve.
Thanks, Gary. Thank you,
thank
sir. Very, very much. Continuing in alphabetical order, Dan Lakebold.
Okay, I'll go. I think Lathers before Lakefold, but that's okay. I wouldn't want to correct Sir Paul. Linda, are you okay with that, or do you want to go, Linda?
I'm fine with that. Go right ahead.
All right.
Please let me explain before you start his clock. I wrote it out phonetically, so that's why
So you gave me Lakefold. Yeah. All right.
I wrote
right.
L-A-K-E. So I'm sorry, Linda.
We're all
Understood.
good.
All right. Okay. Start the clock. Here we go. Good evening, everybody, or good day for those of you folks who are halfway around the world. Nice to see you. It's great to see everybody tonight. I am Dan Lakefold. I'm married to Tracy. We have 2 semi-adult children and a dog named Lily. We live in western South Dakota in the northern Black Hills in a city called Lead. It's really not Black Hills, it's really mountains, and not very big for West Coast and Rocky Mountain size, but for some of you East Coast folks, they're pretty big. So we do a lot of hiking and biking and skiing in the mountains, and we enjoy that. We like to travel, but obviously haven't done much of that lately, and we're looking forward to going to Salt Lake City for sure. That will be great. I've been employed in education for 35 years as a teacher, coach, and administrator. And the last 16 years, I've been a superintendent in the Lead Deadwood School District. As a superintendent, I've really tried hard to focus on the concept of educating the whole child. We recognize the importance of core subjects and standardized tests, but know that child development entails so much more than just that. We've tried to make sure that our students have had the time and the opportunity to do art and music and foreign language and physical activity. We've also done a lot of work in our school district on early intervention and providing quality preschool in our district. As a Kiwanian, I've been a member of the Kiwanis Club of Lead for 16 years and was governor of Minnesota Dakotas in 2017, 2018. I am currently the membership and engagement coordinator in MINDAC as well. And up until last year, I was a member of the Key Club International 2.0 International Vision Subcommittee. That was very enjoyable. In so many of our communities, as you all know, Kiwanis plays a large role in the development of young people as well. And I think as we emerge from this pandemic, we'll need even more commitment to fulfill our mission of serving the children of the world. I feel like I'm willing and able to be part of that commitment as a trustee and continue my advocacy for children. I'll be retiring from the superintendency on June 30th, just after Salt Lake. As you know, although we do a lot of great work in Kiwanis, we are not without our challenges. We have many conversations over the years about engagement or lack thereof, membership, SLPs, and fiscal well-being. And in recent times, obviously, these challenges have been heightened. But I believe, as with all adversity, there's always great opportunity for growth. And I believe that through hard work, collaboration, and innovation, we can do anything. And we can enhance the 106-year legacy of Kiwanis and explore new ways to make our clubs even stronger in our efforts to support our children and our communities. Thank you very much. And on to you, Linda. Oh, sorry, Paul.
Well, that's all right. Linda, again, my apologies. You're on.
No worries at all. Thank you, Paul. Hi, everyone. I'm Linda Lother, as introduced, a candidate for trustee on the International Board, and I'm pleased to be able to talk with all of you this evening. I found that I've had some of the best conversations of my Kiwanis career over the last year. In particular, my conversations with younger members and with those who have the wisdom of experience have been very beneficial. As a member of 2 clubs, I get many chances for service in communities close to me. And I have a lot of experience in leadership roles, which you can read about in the Kiwanis International bios or on my lindalother.com or Facebook pages. This evening, I want to answer an important question. What do I stand for? Here are a few of my driving forces in no particular order, because they're all very important to me. Our clubs and our leadership, all the way to the board level, must reflect and support the diverse communities in the world we serve. I believe I can help the board move closer to that goal. We need to grow action clubs. More than ever, coming out of this pandemic, they need our support. This program is depending on us. How many of you have worked with an action club? It is very gratifying for them and for us. We must have a much stronger emphasis on coaching, not only new clubs, but also shrinking clubs. Under charter strength, as well as larger clubs that are declining at a significant rate, need our help. This is an area I have a great deal of experience with. We need to help the front line of Kiwanis understand the purpose and value of our foundations. The messages are not getting to the boots on the grounds. We need better communication. We need to find a way to fix the Lieutenant Governor challenge. It's one of the most enjoyable jobs I have had in Kiwanis, and we need to message better the need for leaders and then mentor and grow them. Mentoring is a passion for me. We need to communicate better with the Kiwanis members that are at the front of service. I had a conversation today, a quick exchange with a new Kiwanis friend on Facebook, and I asked him, why Kiwanis? And he said, it's the service we do in our community. We need to listen to our members and support them to do what they joined Kiwanis to do in the first place. I believe that decision-making at all levels must include our younger members and service leadership program members, as much as those with years of experience. We must find a way to get their voices and ideas at the board level. You don't have to look far to see the programs they're developing to serve their communities. We need their knowledge and enthusiasm, and not just their youthful stamina, though we need that too. Accomplishing this will take us down the path to resolving much of my other points. I hope that you share my message with those that are voting this year and select me as one of the 3 trustees to be elected. Thank you, and I'm listening.
Thank you, Linda. Now we're going to go into the questions portion, and we will go in rotation with alphabetical order, starting with Gary. And the first question that everybody will have an opportunity to answer is, and it's the hot topic, the rhinoceros in the room that needs to be addressed. Gary, 2 minutes to answer. What do you propose we do to help Kiwanis clubs recover from the pandemic? You're on, Gary.
There we go. First and foremost, we just need to be able to reach out to them. It's going to be incumbent upon the international level, the district level, and the division levels to reach out and personally contact every club that is out there, whether they are active or have been inactive, especially the inactive ones, and find out what can be done to get them active again and back to the way they were when we were meeting as normal. We cannot allow them to just disappear and fade away when we have so much potential with the new technologies of Zooms. We need to be able to share the experiences with the other clubs that have been able to continue either meeting on Zoom or in the case of those who are going to hybrid now, where they're doing both. So it's very important that we get that contact back out there to all of the clubs out in the hinterlands around the world, but especially here in North America. I know as governor, one of the few things I really cherished was when I went out and visited all of the clubs. I hit about 100 out of 125, and many times they said they had never had a governor come to visit them. And that's where we have to get the international trustees, the district governors, the lieutenant governors, to get out there and actually reach out and contact these clubs. It's going to be incumbent upon the leadership to make that effort to make sure that they get involved with their clubs.
Thanks, Gary. Linda Lother, what do you propose we do to help Kiwanis clubs recover from the pandemic?
First of all, I think this needs to already be happening. a lot of our communities have already opened back up, and the clubs are grappling with what to do and how to do it. I think to great extent that we as an organization could be providing to our clubs a step-by-step for a grand reopening, a reintroduction into the communities. But a part of that is helping them to take a look at some of the tools that are available to them. The Achieving Club Excellence tools that are available through Kiwanis International are a wonderful resource for our clubs to be able to have the opportunity to reinvent themselves. There's no better time than now for them to be able to look at what they've always done and realize that it is no longer relevant. What is it that's important to the community at this moment? Because the needs of the communities have changed. The needs of the SLPs have changed in the process of this pandemic. So how can we help them to achieve that? We make them aware of the tools that are available to them and give them the guidance to use them. I think that's hugely important in recovering from the pandemic. I think in a large part, it's being a listening ear. In my career, I work with assisted living homes. You know what that's been over the pandemic. A year of really helping them fight through this process, losing people they love, and communication. I mentioned it before, but it's key now. We need to be listening and we need to be talking and answering the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Dan Lakevold, phonetically spelled L-A-K-E. What do you propose we do to help Kiwanis clubs recover from the pandemic?
Well, again, first and foremost, as Linda said, and I agree with her, it had to have been started already. And I think in lots of places it has. I think that if you just look at our Minnesota Dakotas district, all the clubs aren't in the same place. Minnesota was shut down. It's a very blue state. South Dakota was wide open. It's a very red state. So I think there's a big difference. So I don't think we can do a one-size-fits-all approach. I think that we need to reach out as leaders, more at probably the division level, but we can help lieutenant governors with that, to reach out to folks and first of all, make sure they're meeting. You know, there's no reason that people cannot meet right now. I understand the technology's tough, but we can have people, surrogates who join those clubs, not as dues payers, but just to be there to steward them through the technology and the Zoom piece. That's first and foremost. They got to be meeting. Second, they need to check their lists and people they haven't seen, if they're reopened or they're hybrid or they're full-time Zoom, they need to reach out to all the people on their list they haven't seen. Because we know there's one reason people join and stay in Kiwanis, and that's engagement and service. And really in a pandemic, that's really hard to do. So we need to make sure we reach out to people. Most importantly, keep the people that we have. I also, I did have it written down here, so you can look up my notes. So I'm not cheating, not being in the locked up room back there. But I do think because all the clubs are different, we need to get them to do an ACE analysis of their clubs because they're all in the different places. They should do that anyway, but especially now. And then moving forward, we need to continue to engage our members to keep them, because if we don't keep them around, get them engaged, we're going to lose them. And that's a big problem.
Thanks, Dan. Roger Bell, what do you propose we do to help Kiwanis clubs recover from the pandemic?
Great question that we're going to be faced with for a couple of years, even if the pandemic ends tomorrow. But I think it starts with energizing our leadership from the top to the bottom. And that's from the president of Kiwanis International all the way to the club president and the club officers. We are about supporting our clubs, and we need to energize that leadership base. Amplify is doing a great job for a start on doing that, but I think we have a long ways to go in developing future leaders, younger leaders, people that are enthused and passionate about serving in Kiwanis. I know when I was governor, I initiated a program called Operation Engagement. That is never more important than right now, to engage every single member in every club in doing something for Kiwanis. doing something that they feel that they're a contributor and they're a participant and they are engaged in what their club and community needs. And we need to be addressing that in every way that we can for better ideas coming from not only the ACE tools, but meeting with our community members, our community partners, and developing with them programs that can move us forward and help us go by. I see this as a great opportunity to reveal the passions of Kiwanians and move us forward in a positive way. So I think it's going to be great.
Thanks, Roger. Next round, beginning with Linda. Linda, you're attending your first district event as an elected international trustee. You meet a Kiwanis Club member who is challenging you and shares that everything that Kiwanis International is doing is wrong. The typical "when I was in the office" or "an officer." Tell us how you would converse with this member.
Haven't we all had those conversations at every level of Kiwanis? Those conversations we've been groomed for from the time we were a club leader. And it really is more about listening to them and giving them a chance to unload what is bothering them. What are the ideas that they think are not being heard? When you give people the chance to really share what's bothering them and share with them, and as a representative going back to the board table, it's my opportunity to learn from them what's important to them. And we have to hear them just like we have to hear from every member who agrees with what the board does or how it does it. Because even out of the most cantankerous discussion or person who is unhappy, that person is still paying their dues. They're still part of the organization and they still want to be heard. So I think you can carry their message. I think you can learn from them. And then you ask them, what is their expectation of what you should or could do for them? And oftentimes what I hear back from that person is not that they expect I can change the world for them, but they needed to be heard. And I think that's a key area, and that's listening and then carrying the message as best you can from what you hear from them and what you learn.
Thanks, Linda. Dan, you're meeting a Kiwanis member who's challenging you and shares that everything that Kiwanis International is doing is wrong. Tell us how you would converse with this member.
Well, first of all, I would tell you that I have a great deal of experience with folks in the public school system who tend to share that very view on a variety of topics in our schools. And I find the best thing to do is to listen to them and take into account what they're saying and try to figure out what the root of the problem is, what it is they're really trying to say, and what it is that they're really upset about, and take in the information. And if I feel like I can maybe diffuse the situation at that time by giving some advice or by redirecting to them to someplace closer to the problem, like at the club level or the division level, wherever that might be, then try to send them back closer to where the problem originated. If it's a problem that they believe has to do with Kiwanis International, and I'll continue to listen. I know the answer, share it with them. I'll say, no, I don't believe that's correct, sir. No, ma'am, I don't believe that's correct. And here's why. I will tell them that. And if I don't know the answer, and there's a good chance they might be right, I'll take that back and get the answers for them. And probably the most important thing is I will follow up with them in a timely fashion. I'm not just going to listen to them and then leave them hanging and not get back to them. I'll call them if I can get through, depending on how old they are. Some people don't answer their phones anymore, but I will get back to them and share with them what I found. But the essence, I think, of that whole matter is to listen to them, hear them out, and try to help them in their chagrin. Thank you.
Thank you. Roger Bell, you meet a Kiwanis member who's challenging you and shares that everything that Kiwanis International is doing is wrong. How would you converse with this member?
Same way I've done that when I was governor and lieutenant governor and club president. And that's what everyone else is saying is listen. Listen, we have to have a good ear to hear what people are saying about the organization, what their concerns are, ask directed questions back to them that they can't answer with a yes or no, but they have to give some thought to come back and see if you can't get to the root of that problem. I think it's just an incumbent upon good leaders to be able to draw people out and find out what the basis of their complaint is. And many times I've discovered that it's a misunderstanding, it's a miscommunication, or they haven't heard from anyone. They don't really know what's going on at each level above wherever they're at. And I think if you listen and you discover those things, it's much easier to address them. And I agree with what Dan said, is that if you know the answer, give them the answer. Even if it's a hard answer that they disagree with, if you're on solid ground, give them that politely. But if you don't know the answer, indicate that you will research that and find out. But always follow up and get back to them. You can't let it drop. You have to get back to people. You have to find what's going to really keep that person engaged. And to begin with, I'd say they're already engaged if they're willing to even ask the question or make a complaint, because they're involved at some level that they're concerned with where the organization is going, and we can solve that through listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. Gary, you've met a Kiwanis member who's challenging you and shares that everything that Kiwanis International is doing is wrong. Tell us how you would converse with this member.
Well, I would probably bring in my 37 years as a parking administrator at a university. I've had very few complaints. Just kidding. We've had a lot. My whole career has been based on complaints about how we didn't know what to do. We didn't care. And the same with is not to the degree when in Kiwanis that I've done it as governor, lieutenant governor. But the key is to be an active listener. Find out what the issue is, because a lot of times what they're saying it is not what it really is, the underlying problem. You want to engage them. You want to get them involved. You want to get them acting positively and proactively towards solving the problem. And so determining what they feel the real problem or what you feel they are trying to get across to you, I guess is the first and biggest thing that we have to do. You have to get to the root cause of what is causing them. Obviously, you will always hear some people that just like to complain. That's just part of the business of being in charge of something. People want to just vent, and sometimes that's all they want to do. They want to just get it off their chest. They've got some problems, and by being an active listener and reaching out to them and really trying to feel for what they want to try and really tell you. And sometimes it may not get anywhere, but if you can give them an answer, you don't want to reach out. Yeah, I've had lots of experience with the leadership education to do, so I know a lot of the resources, but a lot of times it's just a matter of being an active listener, a sympathetic ear that is willing to listen to them, what's their mind.
Thanks, Gary. New round of questions. Dan, what's the most recent book you've read or are reading?
Well, that's a good question. Most recent book, I suppose the Kiwanis magazine doesn't count, huh? Yeah, I have not read a book for a while, to be honest with you, given the technology and internet and social media and such stuff. So I have to be honest with you. I can't even lie to you about that one. I can tell you about a whole bunch of classics. I can tell you about a whole bunch of organizational theory from when I got my doctoral degree. I can tell you about a whole bunch of Cook's travel guides and such stuff, but probably something that I learned how to train a dog, maybe.
Understood. Roger Bell, what's the most recent book you've read or are reading?
Well, I could again be honest, like Dan was saying, and say that I'm reading currently a book that's called By the Neck. And it's just a fun Western historical account of how the West grew and how people adjusted to that, and the violence that was created, or in some people's opinion in the book anyway, stopped by hanging people, basically. So I'm just being honest, that's the book. It's a fun book. It's not a real serious book. It doesn't provide the same kind of information that I like when I read books about historical things. I could say a recent book that I read for the second time was Schwarzkopf's autobiography. And that's very interesting because it delves into the history of why he was a perfect general for the first Gulf War, and going through and his childhood all the way to his retirement. Very excellent, provides insights into how to live your life and how to move forward. Does that help me in my Kiwanis career? I think in a way it does. Those kind of things are very important to us to see how other people accomplish goals through adversity that they're faced with and how they come up with solutions. So those are all very rewarding to me. Thank you.
Thanks. You're welcome, Roger. Gary Graham, what's the most recent book you've read or are reading?
Well, that's I guess to be totally honest, as Roger and Dan have been, and reading is a great avocation of me. And ironically, this past weekend, the governor who followed me in Lomiston, Fred Pitts, and his lovely wife Carol stayed with us, and we had looked at all of my books up there on the library, and we went through all of them and talked about them. And if you read this one, if you read that one, and she gave me a book to read and that I needed to do. But quite frankly, since I became governor, and that's been 4, 5, 6 years ago, I've been so busy with Kiwanis and in Cub Scouts that I do not have time to just do leisure reading. It's all educational stuff. I guess if you want to, could be technical and say, yeah, I read the Weeblos book just recently to get some of the requirements down for my Cub Scouts who are working on their Arrow of Light. But outside of that, I've talked about it, but I just do not have the time for pleasure reading right now. Just things are so jam-packed with reading everything else. I am reading, just not for pleasure.
Your all Barnes and Noble memberships are expiring. Linda Lother, what's the most recent book that you've read or are reading?
So I am a prolific reader. I have always got about 4 or 5 books going at one time in different places, audiobooks, technical books, training books, several books all at one time. But of note right now, I have just recently started The Heart of Change by Cotter, and really trying to concentrate on the benefits of change that we can bring into our different environments. I teach leadership in my work world, in my career. And when I'm teaching leadership to people in long-term care, to employees in long-term care, I'm often teaching them the very basics of leadership, how to define it and how to define it in themselves and to grow. And for that, I use Monday Morning Leadership. as an opening place for them. And so I read that 4 times a year with my class. I'm also reading 40-40 Principle by Andy Christensen, which is the value of mentoring. It's not only mentoring younger to older, but I mean older to younger, but younger to older. We need to know that the younger people can mentor us who are older. Wisdom doesn't just come with age and experience. It's amazing how much wisdom and how much that our younger people can bring to us, and enthusiasm. And then while I'm driving, I often listen to fiction while I drive. But yeah, I always have several books going. Thank you for asking.
Thank you, Linda. Okay, now this next segment, Sue, I'm going to ask you to reduce the time limit for an answer to 1 minute. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question. You'll make a choice from the options I give you. And then you have an option of telling us why you chose that answer within 1 minute. Okay, so we start with Roger. Roger Bell. I'm going to give you 2 options. Choose one. You have an option to tell us why, if you so choose. Roger, McDonald's or Burger King?
Burger King. And the reason I chose Burger King is not because I favor theirs over McDonald's, but in my working history, I got to tour a factory that produced French fries for both. And they actually set up a full restaurant for each one. So it was like walking into a McDonald's restaurant and a Burger King restaurant. And the Burger King one, what I learned from that is that their French fries stay warm longer because they have a starch applied to them during the quick freeze process. So that's why I chose Burger King, because I had some kind of informational background to that.
Very nice. Gary Graham, McDonald's or Burger King?
God, I wouldn't pick either one of them, but I will confess to McDonald's, and the main reason I would pick McDonald's is not for any kind of nutritional betterment over Burger King, because I do like the flame broiled, but because the only time I eat it is when I'm on the road. It seems like we're going somewhere. I will get McDonald's because it's something I can eat while I'm driving.
All right. Linda, McDonald's or Burger King?
McDonald's. And 2 reasons. One, I like their French fries better. If I'm going to eat that junky food, I like their French fries better. And the second reason is because when we're taught about systems that are put into place to follow, and so that every single place is exactly the same as the next one, if all of that actually works as purported, McDonald's is known for the systems that it put into place many years ago when it was purchased from its original owner.
Excellent. Dan, McDonald's or Burger King?
McDonald's for sure. Nothing better than a quarter pounder with cheese, and those fries, and a Coke. And Burger King, you can't eat that in the car. Those things fall apart in your hand, and you get the tomatoes all over your lap, and it's no good. Yeah, McDonald's all the way.
I love it. Excellent. Gary Graham, Roger Moore or Sean Connery?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'll go with the politically acceptable answer of Roger Moore, because he supported Kiwanis.
Oh, right. Okay. Linda, Roger Moore or Sean Connery?
Have to pick Roger Moore, same reason.
Interesting. All right. Dan, Roger Moore or Sean Connery?
Again, pretty easy for me. Sean Connery. The rest of them are just pretenders, I think. So
excellent. All right.
Pretty clear to me.
Okay. Roger Bell, Sean Connery or Roger Moore?
Sean Connery was one of my favorite actors, no matter what role he was playing. So I've got to pick him.
We have a 50-50 split.
Okay, I like that. Linda, Lions or Rotary?
Lions or Rotary? I'm going to say Lions. In my experience, Lions have been more willing to partner in the communities where we both exist to do things together on projects that support the community.
Dan, Lions or Rotary?
I would probably say Rotary, due to their overall mission that has to do with international travel and some of that stuff. And having been a German teacher and some of that stuff, I think their commitment to that was always a good thing for me.
Roger Bell, Lions or Rotary?
I have to pick Rotary. They've been a better partner in our local community as far as partnering with Kiwanis to do joint projects. We're currently assisting them on one of their projects and rebuilding a park playground.
Excellent. Gary Graham, Lions or Rotary?
I think I would go with Lions because they're more hands-on like Kiwanis. Rotary is good. I've got friends in both, but I see Lions, at least in our area, to be a more hands-on with kids, especially with the Lions Camp and all of the crippled children push that they have. So I would go with Lions.
Cool. Dan, new Kiwanis Club building or strengthening existing Kiwanis clubs?
Well, I think first and foremost, we have to strengthen our existing clubs. Obviously, we have to do both, but it's easier to strengthen an existing one to go out and build a viable one. I think at some point, if the existing club is clearly not trying, not willing, not able, at some point, then you have to transition, even if you have to build one right on top of them in the same community. I think sometimes that's a hard decision. You have to do that. But I think, part of the problem is when people say, you go to some lieutenant governor in a division and they say, well, we're not going to build new clubs this year. We're just going to focus on strengthening existing clubs. Had they been doing that for the last 10 years, we wouldn't have been having that conversation. So I think it's really strengthening existing clubs is the most important.
Roger Bell, new Kiwanis Club building or strengthening existing Kiwanis clubs?
I better say strengthening existing Kiwanis clubs, since I've worked with clubs in the district for the past few years that are under charter strength. And I believe that's a key to building our success right now. It's easier to build a new club if you have strong existing clubs that are in the neighborhood of a new club you're attempting to build. So strengthening has to be number one priority to move the organization forward in membership growth.
Thanks. Gary, new Kiwanis Club building or strengthening existing Kiwanis clubs?
Well, since I do both, I see in our district at least that building new clubs is a critical thing. Over the last, and it would tie in with the strengthening to an extent, over the last 3 decades, we have seen a drop in Kiwanis clubs around the country and around the world in North America. And in our district, we've seen a big drop. And I think if we go back into these towns that have lost their Kiwanis clubs and get back to getting that word out, I think we'll benefit with the networking ability that it will strengthen the existing clubs through that way.
And Linda, new Kiwanis Club building or strengthening existing Kiwanis clubs?
Had to put an or in there, didn't you, Paul? So I think strengthening must be done. We've got to find a way to support these clubs. I think that for Kiwanis to move into the future, we've also got to be opening some new clubs as well. It's going to take both. I've had a lot of emphasis personally on the strengthening and counseling during doing boosts. That's kind of like a blitz for an existing club, but doing boosts. And that's been very effective. But I think we really have to be doing both strengthening and opening new clubs.
Great. Thank you, Linda. One more question, and then we'll go into the 1-minute closing comments. And then this will go back to 2-minute answers. We will, I kind of lost track of how I started, but I think we can start with Roger Bell again. So, because we kind of went through the cycle of 4 on those. So everyone, starting with Roger. And this is kind of like a board table strategic question that you might get input from your council districts. And indeed, this is a fact. There is a declining awareness in the benefits of attending international and district conventions. What strategy would you suggest that would increase the awareness of attendance benefits? Roger.
That's a multi-pronged approach that you have to take. You have to deal with the clubs themselves and re-energize people that there's something to be gained by going. I think you start that with having effective division council meetings. You have district conventions that energize people. You sell the benefits of the education to go attend these different events at every level, whatever they are, and encourage people to be there, to be energized. I think we need to encourage clubs to be finding a way to sponsor at least their officers to attend convention, help support them financially to do that, and morally and emotionally to get there by having other people in the club attend with them and support them as they move forward with that. Another way to get people to convention is to really promote the activities that are associated with that. And by that, I mean, many times we go to a convention, whatever level it's at, and we're so busy with everything that we don't have time to socialize with people and gain the benefit of interaction with our fellow Kiwanis leaders from other districts and clubs around the world.
Thanks, Roger. Gary, there is a declining awareness in the benefits of attending international and district convention. What strategy would you suggest that would increase the awareness of attendance benefits?
I think the situation that we found ourselves in the last year with COVID, and that the fact that we've had to rely on technology like Zoom and so forth, has given us some ability to reach beyond just the normal ways of communicating with other clubs and other members. The situation, I guess today, our club met for the first time in 14 months since COVID started. And I would tend to think that would be a microcosm of what we're all about. We had members there today that we hadn't seen at a regular meeting prior to the fact that we had to shut down. People missed that interconnectivity and they really want to meet. So my approach would be to take the ability of the Zoom and the things that we're doing today to reach those clubs that are normally not there. Give them the access to see what an international convention or a district convention looks like, and let them experience it vicariously through the internet, and through that way, get them the ability to learn about what all is out there. Just as we've done this past year, I've learned so much from other countries, other clubs. I think if we use that as a tease to some of these clubs of saying, okay, we're going to let you see SLC for a couple of sessions for nothing if you want to sign in, and learn about what all the benefits are for becoming going to these things in person.
Thanks, Gary. Linda, there is a declining awareness in the benefits of attending international and district conventions. What strategy would you suggest that increases the awareness to the Kiwanis member of attendance benefits?
There's a comparison I put here, and it goes right back to making other people aware of the benefit of being a member of Kiwanis. Now, when we bring the Kiwanis member and bring them into the awareness of what attending a district convention or an international convention is, we first have to be the example. We have to be there in order to encourage other people to go. Secondly, we need to invite somebody to go with us and help them find the way to attend. If we're helping through fundraising so that they can go, if we're helping through the club supporting them, not all clubs have the money to sponsor somebody to attend a meeting. But once you get that first timer to a district convention or to an international convention, turn them loose on social media. Let them tell what their experience was, what they learned, how they grew, the bigger picture they saw. When they start sharing that with other people, that's telling the story that other people want to hear. Why did you go? What difference did it make to you? And when they're answering questions for those others who have never considered attending those things, we have to show the value to show what they're going to take away from it personally, not for their club, but personally. How are they going to grow as an individual? And sometimes the first time attender is the best one to tell that story.
Thank you, Linda. Dan, there's a declining awareness in the benefits of attending international and district convention. What strategy would you suggest that would increase that awareness of attendance benefits?
Well, I think it's all about getting down to the division and the club level. I know I was a Kiwanian for 5 years or 6 years before I really started to engage and had any idea about the international convention and that kind of stuff. So typically, you know, we get lieutenant governors and other folks who go to these conventions, but not generally a Joe member. And so I think we need to figure out whether or not they're not going because they don't know about it, which was what would be one solution, to do a better job, maybe not from KI, because I think they're probably pushing the information out, but whether it gets from the district to the division to the members, I don't know. So I think we need to figure that out. But then I think we also need to figure out whether or not they're not going for other reasons. Cost too much, the venue, you know, do you get more people going to San Diego than Ekalaka, Montana? I would think probably so. It's probably just the way it is. I think the education program, we need to take a look at that. So I think we need to ask people why they're not going and listen to what they say and take the info. I think that as we, you know, we're in 2021 now, so social media has to be part of the push to get the word out to people. I don't know whether Kiwanis International is ready to do a hybrid with some sort of webinar presence or not in normal times, quote unquote, but certainly that's something that needs to be discussed and people need to chime in on that one as well. So it's a hard one. I don't know whether it is one of three things. Either people just aren't participating anymore, they're just staying home, or they're not getting the word, or there's a variety of reasons that scare them away. So I think we need to dive into that and find out before we come up with solutions.
All right, folks. Now we're going to go into the closing statement segment, each with 1 minute. And Gary Graham, 1 minute closing statement.
Thank you. We have our challenges, obviously, with Kiwanis. We have seen a decrease in membership, and it's incumbent upon us to bring in the new generations, and we have to think differently. If we're going to bring in the younger generations, they want to communicate differently, they want to meet differently. The one thing that we have in common is we want to serve the children. And here we can do that if we listen to them and we take their needs into account as we carry on the requirements for our members, our existing members. So we need to build that bridge between the younger generation and the older generation if we're going to continue service into the next 100 years. And that's going to take a lot more changes and new communication ways to get the younger generation to become part of our Kiwanis service.
Thanks, Gary. Linda, closing statement, 1 minute.
So I want to take a couple of seconds to go back to a couple of the questions that were asked. And the first of those was Lions or Rotary. I would love JCI to have been one of the options there, because JCI is an organization we need to be partnering with, because there's a natural opportunity for the movement from JCI into Kiwanis. We don't have to proselytize to bring somebody from them to us. We can support each other and they can grow into the Kiwanis world. The other one I wanted to go back to was the conventions and the participation. And sort of a follow on is, what do we do when we come back from a district convention and we're the one from our club who went, or the one of just a couple? Do we share what happened at convention? Do we train the trainer type of thinking? Do we share with them the information that was there and the sessions that took place? And do we bring anything back? I always collect up, Jeff and I collect up campaign shot skis. We collect all that stuff, and then we have drawings
Thanks,
for it
Linda.
at the meeting.
Time.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
And you're welcome. Dan, closing
All right,
statement.
I want to thank you all for tuning in this evening or this morning, whatever it might be for you. And I'd like to share quickly why I think I'm a good candidate for this position. Like most of you, I believe strongly in the value of putting public service over personal ambition. I'm willing to put in the time and the effort to do what is necessary to help Kiwanis serve the children of the world. I really believe my roles in Kiwanis, my career as an educator, and my character have prepared me for that role. I've been dedicated to the cause of supporting children and their families for 35 years, and I'll continue to be an advocate for them as a Kiwanis International Trustee. I believe that honesty, integrity, determination, and tolerance are the essential elements for one to be a true leader, and I feel like I've tried to exhibit these traits in my personal and professional life. So I look forward to working with all of you in the future and would appreciate any support you can give me, whether you're a voter, member of the council or not, and the opportunity to serve as a trustee. Thank you.
And Roger, closing statement, 1 minute.
Thank you. I again want to say thank you to the Michigan District and to all of you who've tuned in tonight to listen and participate here. I would say that my baseline for everything that I'm doing is that we have opportunities to explode as Kiwanis. We don't have problems to do that. We have opportunities. COVID has taught us that we have opportunities to change how we communicate, how we meet. Is this more attractive to a younger generation? I believe so. I've heard that on many new club organization efforts that people don't want to meet, they want to perform service. Kiwanis is all about the kids, and we need to all be behind that, and I would be as a trustee. Thank you.
Time.
Thanks, Roger. And hey, thanks to everybody on this call as viewers, and Roger, Gary, Linda, and Dan. Thanks for your willingness to come forward as a candidate for international trustee. And I know we wish you all the best of luck in Salt Lake City. To the Kiwanians who were viewing, to make your opinion heard, contact your district governor and let them know your thoughts on who you would like to see serve as an international trustee, because it's your district governor as part of the International Council that will be casting a vote for 3 of these 4 outstanding Kiwanians who wish to serve on the Kiwanis International Board. And it's been a pleasure to have this chance to further our organization and move it forward with new leaders. And past International President Sue Peterson, turn it back to you.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thanks to Linda, Dan, Gary, and Roger. I appreciate you being with us this evening. And Paul, thank you very much for hosting and moderating tonight. I want to make a couple quick reminders for everyone here tonight. Kiwanis International did do videos that they did a vision video. And if you go to the Kiwanis.org webpage under the election section for the convention, all those videos are there. The same questions are asked of all the candidates. The only thing that's different is the front thing has the person's name and then their answers, of course. Next week, we will be hosting the vice president session. Same time, 8 o'clock. I expect that it will go longer because we have more additional candidates. And we want to make sure we give them their time. So I'm looking at a 75-minute program. Next week, we will make sure we put that on Facebook. And then finally, for those of you that are interested, the Michigan District is hosting a new member onboarding program this Saturday at 9 and at 10. And it's actually Kiwanis 101. We've been doing that program since September and inviting all new members and any current members to join us. But it really talks about what Kiwanis is, and it helps supplement the orientation that you may be doing in your own club. With that, I want to thank you all for being with us tonight. As soon as we get the video loaded up to YouTube, we'll make sure we make the announcement on the Michigan District of Kiwanis Facebook page. But if you go to the Michigan District of Kiwanis YouTube page, that information will be there. So with that, I want to thank everyone for being with us. Wish you all a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.